Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is the 27th episode of Knits and Pieces. My name is Noelle, and this is my friend Kelly, and we are coming to you from southwestern Ontario. We live probably about 20 minutes apart, but could be miles and miles during lockdown. Anyway, so we are primarily a knitting podcast, although we do sometimes have other crafts that we venture into, such as spinning, sewing, weaving, baking. I can't think of anything else right at the moment, but if we get into something else, we'll let you know.
Okay.
So we have a little bit of admin to go through first before we get into the main part of the podcast. So this episode here is our regular podcast episode, and we film one of these episodes every 3 weeks. And in this episode, we tell you about our whips, our finished objects, what we're working on, details about the projects, yarn choices, modifications, like a whole lot of detailed information about what we're doing. So,
and then the knit chat episodes that we have, and we schedule those weekly. We've been running them on Sunday afternoons, but we're moving to Tuesday evenings for the summer months, starting on May 4th. And that is basically, there's no script, no schedule for that. It's basically just like it's a knit group. It's our online knit group. You can call it coffee shop knitting, whatever. We will be knitting as we're chatting with you. It's an interactive forum. So we can't guarantee that the topics will always stay to knitting. Sometimes they take off on a tangent about anything else that is basically viewer driven too. Whatever you're asking us is what we're responding to, and that's where the conversation is rolling. So, and then we have a third component to our channel as well, which is actually on a separate channel, but on our podcast, sometimes we talk about a different technique or something that we've learned that we think you might be interested in. So we can film some tutorials for you, and the tutorials can be found on a different channel called The Tangled Stitch. And I'll put that information below. And so that is just a full instructional channel where you can catch up with some of the things that we're showing to you on our regular podcast. So that's sort of where we hang on the three places. And, everybody likes something different. We hope that you would join in on all of the things, but as time allows, maybe you don't have that kind of time. And so we're just happy that you're here today in our little corner of the knitting world.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about, we have some make-alongs going on. I'll let you start.
Okay. Well, I'll talk about our year-long sock make-along. So we started that January the 1st, and all you have to do is finish a pair of adult socks, or as many pairs of adult socks as you care to make. So you just enter them in the finished object thread on Ravelry, and once a month we draw a winner. And we don't just draw a winner from the socks that were entered that month. We draw a winner from right back to the beginning of January with all of the socks that are entered. So the only thing that can't win is a pair of socks that's already won. Mm-hmm. So if you enter 5 pairs, you've got a chance to win 5 different times. Okay, if you enter 1 pair, that's good for the whole year, unless you win once, and then you can't win with that pair. So the more pairs that you get in there, and the sooner you get them in there, the more chances you have to win a prize throughout the year. And then probably at the end of the year, we'll do something a little bigger or different. Mm-hmm. So right now we're kind of in between. This is, what's the date today? The 26th, I think.
26th of April, yes.
26th of April. So we will cut that off at the end of April 30th. And then the next time that we do a regular podcast, we will announce a winner for April.
And we have just shy, there were, as of 10 minutes ago, there were 398 pairs in our year-long sock-along.
Yeah, all gorgeous. So nice
Making me want to knit all the socks, socks.
I know.
So we have a second make-along running as well, and it's called the Rising Stars Make-Along, and that is running for the full month of April and May. And that make-along is highlighting patterns by designers that have less than 30 projects in them or on their project page. So it's just a way to show some love to designers whose patterns maybe haven't reached that top 20 yet, and give you an opportunity to try out something new or a different designer that you haven't tried out yet. We have a chatter thread as well as a finished object thread. And we have lots of chatter going on in the chatter thread. And I know that people are hard at work on their projects and scouring the internet, looking for patterns that are less than 30 makes. And then as far as finished projects, we have 16 finished projects in there so far. And we will have a prize that we will draw at the end of May. So then we'll announce that on our next podcast as well.
Yeah, and there is also a chatter thread for the sock make along too. So like put your socks in there too, because in the finished object thread, we can't really comment on them. Like we can like them or love them, but we can't really comment on them. Yes, but if you put them in the chatter thread, then, you know, we can talk about the pattern or, you know, different things about the socks. So it's nice to go through there and actually be able to add a comment once in a while. So use both threads.
Yes. And yesterday on Knit Chat, we ended up talking, well, I think it started out by talking, how do we store sweaters? How do we put them away so that, I think I started that comment. Sometimes you get a wrinkle in your sweater, no matter how careful you are to fold them and put them away. And then that led into how do we store our shawls? And somebody, I think it was Tracy, suggested in the Knit Chat, because I know that Noelle has a shawl wall, and it's a series of pegs, and you roll up your shawls and then hang them over the pegs, right? So Tracy thought it would be fun to guess. Well, first she asked Noelle. Noelle didn't know the answer. How many shawls does Noelle have? And so then Tracy said, we should make that a contest. So we're going to make that a contest. So Noelle has already done all the work, and she has knit all the shawls, and now she has more work to do because now she has to go through her house and count all the shawls. But underneath this podcast today, you can put in the comment thread how many shawls you think Noelle has in her house. And we're going to count, or Noelle is going to count the shawls. And on May the 4th, if somebody has guessed the right answer, May the 4th is our first Knit Chat Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. So you comment below how many shawls you think Noelle has, and then we will go through all of the comments on May the 4th and find the person with the right answer or the closest answer without going over. And if if more than one person has the right answer, then we'll take those entries and it'll be a random draw between those people. And we will have a prize for you. So we're going to announce the winner on May 4th, that evening on Knit Chat. So that's a Knit Chat you probably want to attend if you guessed how many shawls. I think we quizzed Noelle yesterday. She really doesn't even have any clue.
Yeah, no idea.
She has.
Remember, even if you looked at my Ravelry stuff, there's a lot of shawls that I've made that I've given away that aren't there.
That's right. And that you've woven.
There's shawls that I've made before I even was on Ravelry.
Yep. So you can't cheat by going into her Ravelry page and counting, because it still won't get you the right answer. And I think Noelle's probably afraid to find out the answer too.
I think I am. And I have plans for more shawls.
But we think this will just be a fun way to get Noelle running around the house counting shawls.
Now I already kind of started looking through the ones upstairs, because I have a shawl wall upstairs too. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this one.
And I think it'll be really fun. I think we definitely have to tell Ross what that number is too. He may be a little shocked as well.
I think he probably won't be. But you never know. He might be.
Okay.
So
moving on. Okay. What are you wearing today?
I am wearing the Trip to Pirates Cove. And I think you had this on either last podcast or the podcast before. Mm-hmm. So this is a pattern by Melinda Misor, who is Rye Flower Knits. I don't know if you can see the drop stitches in the... Definitely one of my favorite shawls. Perfect shawl to use if you've got like one special skein. Now I have to get it back on, right? And this skein was actually a skein that I got when we were in Nova Scotia. And the yarn shop there in Tatamagouche, which I believe has since moved, but it was there, they had this skein specially dyed for their yarn store. And it was a skein by Luxury Wolf Knitting Yarns. And this is their MCN. So it's called Sock It To Me Baby. So it's a merino cashmere nylon. So it's got 20% cashmere in it. And the colorway is called October Sunrise over Tatamagouche. So it's got beautiful teals, golds, pinks, burgundies, just beautiful. So,
and that's a pattern that lends itself so well to even a heavily variegated yarn, or yes. It almost seems like the busier the yarn, the better it is for that pattern.
When you get the drop stitches, like it just really showcases it.
It does. It's beautiful. I wear mine a lot too.
Yep.
Actually, it's hanging on Beatrice in the corner right now, still from probably the last podcast that we did.
What do we call her? Bernice.
Her name is Beatrice, right? I can make her a name tag because I keep forgetting too.
I know.
Maybe I'll stitch it right onto her chest.
I miss her. I haven't seen her for months.
I was thinking of bringing her out. There's room to put her behind. I don't know if she has a low enough setting that she can get in the frame, but maybe for the next podcast, I'll dress her up and ask her to join me as a co-host.
I probably have enough shawls to drape her in for the next 4
Probably. Yeah, for sure. I'm wearing the Miserina sweater by Caitlin Hunter. And today I decided to straighten my hair. Usually it's up, it's pinned up. And today of all days, I think it's been a year since I've straightened it. So there. So the pattern's a little bit hidden. But I really like the sweater. Things that I like about it are the lace above the color work. I think that's really pretty. It's just an extra little touch. It is a short sleeve sweater. Today it's a little cool. We're only at 9 degrees today. So I have a t-shirt on underneath it. So it's a pretty versatile pattern. I knit this in Leo and Roxy. The green is called Pistachio and the brown is Knit Picks in the colorway Fedora. And it was a lot of fun to knit. And there's no fear of getting stuck on Sleeve Island because basically, you've got just a couple of inches of sleeves once your yoke is done. So it was fun. Yeah, I haven't worn it a lot yet. I did just finish it a couple of months ago. And I like that I chose the green and the brown, but I have to admit, I don't have a lot to go with this brown. Like, I was surprised. I found this in my drawer, this brown t-shirt. And probably if I had knit the color work in something different, I would have a few more things to go with it. But I do really like the sweater and I'm happy with how it came out.
Yeah, it looks really nice in the green and brown.
Mm-hmm. It's a little like it's a different combination, right? It's not something that, but I don't know how well it's showing up on camera either, but there are like little brown flecks in the pistachio. I guess that would be sort of the nut skin of the pistachio. So the brown Fedora actually is a really good match for it. That's pretty yarn. And it was nice to work with. I think it's the
80-20.
It's an 80-20, but was it an MCN? I almost feel like it might have been an MCN too. Because it's got a little bit of it has a little bit of a shine to it. I'm not sure, but it's
it was.
Nice.
I know they have an MCS. They have a merino cashmere silk.
Maybe
it was
I would have to go back. I would have to go back. But
it'll be linked in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go back and see.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that's all we have for admin.
Okay. So now we'll move on to our finished objects. Okay, so my first FO is a pair of socks. So these socks are what I'm doing in the Lucky Dip Cal, and that's where I picked out 12 skeins at the beginning of the year. And every month my husband pulls a new skein out of my bag and I knit a pair of socks, and these are going to be the Christmas presents that I give to my adult kids and their significant others at Christmas time. So instead of having to do 12 pairs like from September to December, they're actually getting done 1 pair a month. So this is my 4th pair finished. So this pair is just basically a plain vanilla pair. I did a 2x2 rib, top down, afterthought heel, and a rounded toe. So this yarn is Diamond Select Footsie, and it's the first time that I've worked with it. And I'm actually surprised because looking at the ball, which I don't have here, but looking at the ball, you would never have guessed that that was what the pattern was going to knit up like.
No,
So
it looks so heavily variegated. You wouldn't have thought there'd be any pooling.
No,
That's fun. That's really fun.
Kind of neat. Yeah. And then we were talking about, I think I was knitting these while we were doing knit chat. So we were talking about what color I should put in for the heel. And I've used the Leo and Roxy Basics fingering, and that color is Queen's Navy, which is a really, really dark navy. But the navy in this is also a really dark navy, because it was a choice between that or the classic gray, which goes with everything.
No, I really like the navy. It looks great.
The navy was a really good choice. Yep. Yep. And with all my socks, I do them on a 2.25 millimeter needle, alternating between magic loop, 2 short circulars, and now I'm moving into a 9-inch circular. And now we even have a 9.5-inch circular.
Yes. Yes, we do.
But those ones were done. Those ones were done on 2 16-inch circulars. So those are done. And I'm glad that's 4 pairs done for Christmas. Like, I feel like, wow, I'm hope I can keep this up.
Well, yeah. Just imagine, what will you do with all your spare time in December? Because usually you're like power knitting through to the finish line, and now you're going to have all this time.
I'll decide I can knit 14 or 15 or something else before Christmas.
Everybody gets a hat with their socks. You still have to, you can knit sweaters and snowmen though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll do more of the snowmen. I really like the little snowmen.
They were so cute.
The sweaters. And even if you get a different patterned one every year, they're still nice to put on your tree, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
What else do I have? Okay. My next finished object I don't have with me. I had showed it as a whip on the last podcast, and that was the Dino sweater that I was doing as a birthday present for my granddaughter, Isla.
So cute.
So it basically came out of this book, which is a Patton Baldwin old book published in 1987. This was publication number 495. It was $2.25 for the book that's got about 7 or 8 patterns in it, right? And it was this pattern here is the pattern that I did. But I did her dinosaur in a purple color.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the little scales on the dinosaur in a pink color. So hers I did in Leo and Roxy's basics fingering, but because that's a worsted weight pattern, I held it double. So I held it double on a 4.5 millimeter needle, and that gave me the 20-inch or the 20 stitch correct gauge.
So you could get worsted gauge on 2.
Yes.
Okay.
And on the fingering held double.
Okay.
So it was a little loose, but it was fine. So I made some modifications to the pattern because the old patterns are all written totally in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So I still had to do the front and the back separately because of the intarsia on the front. So I did the front and the back. The sleeves, you were supposed to knit them and then sew them. I thought, I'm not sewing them. I just picked up stitches and knit down.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do them flat because it had the dinosaur's tail down the middle of the one arm. But then when I got to the cuff, I joined it back up and did the cuff in the round. So then I just basically had mattress stitching to kind of go up the sleeve and the side seam. The neckband was a fold over. I didn't do that because it was already the yarn double. I just did a plain neck, and then I did a tubular bind off.
Mm-hmm.
Shoulders were supposed to be sewn together. I did a 3 needle bind off. So, and I know when I did this pattern back in probably 1987 for my son, I would have done it the way the pattern
it was
said.
written. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I know the pattern that's on the front cover of that book. I remember making that for my daughter.
Yeah.
And there's one other one in there that I really like too. I think it's on the same page as the Dino sweater, the next page, the little
one
bunny.
with,
I think that one is so cute. And
yes.
that one is a yoke sweater. That's not sewn in sleeves. So
yes, I actually I did this one too for one of my boys because it's got the little teddy bear sticking out of the pocket. The teddy bears on that though are duplicate stitched on after.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
well, there was didn't you use a lot of duplicate stitch on the Dino sweater as well?
Yes, because all the
outline.
All the outline is all that's not duplicate stitch. That's all like an outline stitch. But then there was duplicate stitch because the dinosaur has like little freckly things on it. And then there was duplicate stitch for the eyes and some of the grass. So yeah, it was a lot of work.
How excited was she when she got it?
Oh, she loved it. She loved it. I've got a picture of her in it too. So I'll give that to you, Kelly, so it can go in.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I will I was looking for the bag that I brought down. Oh, there it is. So my first FO, it's really 2 FOs in one. What's fun with that? They're really pretty. Look at these.
They're so nice.
So these are sock tubes from, and I love how they're all tie-dyed, right?
Yep.
So I think sort of the idea behind this would be that they would dye these up as if they were dyeing a sock blank, and then you would traditionally knit back off of these to end up with a variegated sock,
Yep.
right? But what they did with these is they actually, I think, well, I'm speaking for them, it's full moon fibers. I think that they knit the tubes and then dyed the tubes as is. So this colorway is called, so it's their Groovy Moon sock tubes, and the colorway is Gone Paddling. And so they send, you had, I'm sorry, it's a 64 stitch count sock tube on their solar sock base, and it's 365 yards. It's 100 grams. So they have a heavier weight yarn.
Yep.
They're a nice consistency. So it's 365 grams of a tube, and then they send you a 50 gram skein of a contrasting color. So these are probably a little shorter than I would normally make the socks. So my original intention was to knit them in such a way that I had full length socks and some shorty socks to share. But when I measured them, I thought, you know what, I think I can make this work. So this is actually only 4.5 inches, but then I did 1.5 inches here. So I still have a 6-inch sock. Normally I would knit 7, so I'm really not sacrificing that much, and they're a really nice fit. I've done some sock tubes before, and I found that the sock tube was too loose for my foot, and they were also too loose for the foot of my recipient. So this is a tighter, snug 64 stitches, more like I would knit myself, because that's what I would knit, either a 60 or a 64 for myself, and this was a good fit. But I love how none of them are actually the same.
Yeah.
But you can tell that they're a pair. So they're really pretty. So I'm going to be
so,
sending
so
them.
Did you pick out the color of the mini to go, or the 50 gram, or do they have it in packages? Because that green looks perfect with it.
Yeah, no, they had it packaged up that way. This is how it comes from them. And that was part of their update last time, I think. Because I think I showed it.
You showed the sock tube.
I showed the sock tube on the last podcast. That's right. So, I mean, I may not have knit the tube, but it doesn't mean that you're done in 10 minutes for a sock. It still takes, there's an amount of time that it takes to do each heel. I did 4 toes, 4 cuffs, and then picking up all of the stitches too. That's a little more, and it's a little, I would say it's a little trickier with a sock tube, because usually if I'm putting in an afterthought heel, I would have put in, I do sort of like a lifeline stitch that you showed me how to do that. I do 2 lifelines and then I cut in between. But with a sock tube, you have to go along and pick up. And some parts of the sock tube, this one's not as bad. This one here, for instance, where this heel goes in, it's really dark.
Mm-hmm.
That was hard to see, to find the to find where to put my rows in. But anyway, I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I love the colors, and I'm going to be sending a pair off to my daughter as well. And I know that she's going to love them just as much as I do.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah. That's one project. You can go ahead.
Okay. My second or third. I don't have it with me either, because it was also a birthday present, and it was the socks that I was knitting for my son. So they are, I called them either whale and waves or waves and whales. Like, they have whales around the top.
Yeah.
Color work. And then in the body of the sock, I just kind of did like a wave pattern, but the wave pattern is just purl stitch. So it's just textured. So they were really fun to do. They were in Leo and Roxy, the fingering basics again, and they were in the colors Classic Gray, which was the whales in the top of the sock, and then the body of the sock was the Pacific Blue, which is a gorgeous blue.
It is like a beautiful blue.
It is. It's a gorgeous blue. I was really pleased with how they turned out. We'll put a picture in. So they have a contrast heel in the classic gray. And yeah, I really like the feel of socks in that yarn. So
they're so soft, right? They're really soft.
Yeah. And the yarn is nice. It's a nice feel in your hands to knit with.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. You have another one?
I do have one more. So this is actually my Rising Stars Cal knit finished. So these socks are called Dreaming of Spring. They are by this Handmade Life who is Olivia. This pattern only had, I don't know, 20 maybe projects, but I just really liked it. And originally,
really pretty.
The pattern that I was going to do that was her pattern was one of her patterns, but it was a more heavily cabled. And I thought when I started knitting with this yarn, it just seemed more springy and more light. But I'll have to read you the little poem. It's a poem by Shelley that she puts in, because on all of her patterns, she'll put in like kind of a little inspirational passage. So this one was, and the spring arose on the garden fair, like the spirit of love felt everywhere. And each flower and herb on earth's dark breast rose from the dreams of its wintry rest.
Aw.
Like, and when I read that, I'm like, yeah, I have to make those socks.
Yeah. So you get a pattern, you get socks, and you get a lovely piece of poem too.
Yeah, that was by Shelley. I mean, she didn't write that. It was a poet, but it just, I don't know,
perfectly suited to the pattern.
Exactly. And she does that with a lot of her patterns. And I just think, I read that and it's like, yes, I have to make those. But her patterns are really reasonably priced. Mm-hmm. This one it's basically kind of a feather and fan lace pattern. The original pattern is top down, but because I had started the other ones and they were toe up, I just did mine toe up. I did an afterthought heel, and then I just did a 1x1. It was 1x1 rib, but I just finished it off with a tubular cast off. So, and the yarn that I used is the cream with all the flex is Woolen Boon Classic in their, I think it's called Sweet Nothings, the colorway. And then this blue for the heel is a little soft sock mini that I got from Knit Stitch when she used to be in London.
Okay.
And then she moved to Stratford and now she's back in London. Right. So, but I just thought it just picks up the little tiny blue flex in the yarn. So, but yeah, I really like the pattern. I'm happy with it. It was fun to do. Pattern was easily memorizable and just a
really pretty.
Yeah. So thanks.
I'm so happy that Suzanne is back to London. I can't wait. She was just leaving once I found out about her. I think I went to one knit night and then she was packed up and gone, and I never did get to Stratford. So now that she's back in London, I'm really excited for when we can go out to the shops again. And I'm looking forward to seeing her new space.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going. So,
okay. And my next project, well, this came from, I was down here sewing one night and one of our viewers recommended a new podcast for me. And I'm always on the lookout for new podcasts to keep me company. I don't like to sew alone. I like to be kept company. And so they suggested Fiber Hustle with Chip and Aaron. Mm-hmm. I'm in love. Those guys, I'm in love. And it's my perfect thing because it's knitting and it's sewing. So it satisfies both sides of my brain and keeps me good company. So Aaron, I was just about to say Chip, but Chip is the sewer. Aaron had made a mitered square dishcloth. He likes to make, well, he calls them washcloths, and he has this ongoing joke about his washcloths. But anyway, he had made a mitered square, and I thought, that would be kind of fun. So I thought as a palette cleanse, I would try one too. So he followed a pattern, and I'm sorry, I did not follow a pattern. So I have no reference for this. But if you were to go on Ravelry and just typed in mitered square dishcloths, there are quite a few of them. So I'm not sure which pattern he used. But anyway, this is my attempt at a mitered square dishcloth. And so how I did this is I cast on 75 stitches, which goes along this way. And then in the mitered square, you have a decrease down the center. So your stitch count gets less and less as you go. I like this idea for a dishcloth because Traditionally, a lot of the dishcloth patterns start with, 2 stitches, and then you go bigger out to the points, and then you go smaller again to get to the other side of the square. And I find that sometimes it's a little tricky to weave your ends in when you're only dealing with a couple of stitches to start, or you sort of get a weird little pointy thing sometimes. So this gives you a nice long length of stitches to do some work with. So I made this first one, and excuse me, I wasn't really enjoying how marled the first square was. I mean, I was using marled yarn. I don't know what I expected, but I somehow thought that it would show a little bit more. So when I got down to this point, and I think I had 15 stitches left here, I thought, well, I'll do something different. So I added in a cream color. So then I thought, well, okay, I could make this better if I alternated the colors. So then I made a second dishcloth, because we do. And I alternated the colors. So I was happier with this one, definitely happier. I like how the lines show up a little bit better, but I still felt by the time I got down to 15 stitches, I was feeling bored with the stripe. So then I went back to a straight marl. Now, the yarn that I'm using is probably everybody's favorite dish yarn, and it's the Knit Picks Dishy.
I've not tried the twist.
So this is their twist. Now, here's what I found. I've never knit with the twist before. I've only ever knit with their other, and they have solid colors. They have variegated. I have a couple of little tote boxes that I'm looking at right now. I have a lot of colorways, but I definitely find that the solid is a little thicker. Like this, This is a tiny bit thicker than the marl, but I also found that the marl is a little softer.
Okay.
So I don't.
They're both 100% cotton, right?
They're both 100% cotton, but it must be something to do with what they do to create a twist. Like either, I guess maybe however many plies are in the twist. I'm thinking it's 4. It's 4. Maybe like the plies are a little thinner.
The solid feels thicker.
The solid feels a little thicker. Yeah. So I liked working with the marl maybe just a tiny little bit better, because sometimes I don't always like working on larger needles, and I find sometimes cotton, it's just a little coarser to work with. So this was a little more of an enjoyable experience to work with. And I got the 2 dishcloths. I don't have the cream color with me, but they're 100 gram skeins, and I still have 56.5 grams left after doing 2 of these. And I actually waited to start, and I smudged it. It was 104 grams. So I could get 2 more of these.
Does the twist come in more colors too?
I think it comes in about, I want to say like 6 colors. I have this color is called Mulberry, and it's I think it perfectly goes with their cream. The cream I know is called Swan. Okay. So all of the twist is the cream color plus another color.
Okay.
I have it in a green as well, but I really like it. And I was almost thinking, like, I don't know what you could do with this. Like, this would even make, if you knit this on a little bit of a looser stitch, it would be fun to make like some type of a cowl. Like, you remember our night shift cowls that are kind of like bandana-like? They're a tube, and then they're kind of a bandana at the front. This is soft enough that it would be cozy, like around your neck. So I don't know. I can't imagine making a garment out of Dishy. I'm sure some people have done it, but anyway, I'm really happy with these. They're pretty.
They look good. They look nice. I got to get back and knit some more dishcloths. My, plans of doing them all this year. I've done 2.
It's nice to have. It's a nice little palette cleanse, right? After you've, not that I finished a big project. Sock tubes are not a big project, but when you do finish a big project, it's nice to have something small to work on that you can finish up in an evening or an afternoon. It's kind of like knitting a hat, a couple of evenings work. It's just nice to see something progress quickly and be done with it, and then move on to something else.
Well, it's nice to have for a Zoom call too, right? Because like I was on a Zoom call this morning, and I'd already finished 2 pairs of socks, and the other socks that I'm working on, I'm into color work, and I'm into a color work sweater, and I didn't, and I should have just started a dishcloth, because it's like you don't have to think about it.
Or these are perfect to work on when you're joining Knit Chat with Kelly and Noelle on Tuesday evenings.
Yes. That's why I should take that advice.
There you go. Maybe you wouldn't.
I don't have to unknit after.
That's right. That's right. Nobody ever had to unknit a dishcloth.
No. So. Well, I don't know, Kel. When we go to Tuesday night and I'm drinking wine, I'm not going to be knitting anything complicated. That's for sure.
No. Oh, you don't want to work on your Marie Wallin sweater on Tuesday night?
No. Let's see, with red wine, and I'm going to knit cranberry colored dishcloths.
Perfect.
Okay.
I dropped a stitch yesterday when we were in knit chat on my sweater, and I don't remember the last time I did that. I mean, I only went down 4 rows, and it's on a bulky yarn. But I must have, instead of going into the stitch, I probably went under the stitch, and I wasn't looking, and I'm just knitting and popping it off, and there it went.
Yeah.
Didn't get away from me though. I caught it.
Yep.
Run away.
Yep. So, okay. So now we should, I don't know. Is that it? Is that it for FOs?
That's it.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll move on to our works in progress. Okay. So I guess I'll go first. Well, my first one, Kelly already mentioned, my Marie Wallin sweater. I hadn't started this last time, but one of our viewers, Kathy, on Knit Chat, she was talking about working on her Burra cowl by Marie Wallin when we were doing Knit Chat. And I thought, I really should get that project out and get it started. So I did. So I've got a sleeve done.
It's so pretty.
Thanks. It's gorgeous, gorgeous colors. The yarn is like amazing. So this sweater is called Primrose. It's by Marie Wallin. It's in the book called Gentle. Some of her patterns you actually can purchase separately. I'm not sure if this one, whether you can purchase this one separately or not yet, because I think it's after the book's been out for a while. So anyway, so I started with the sleeve, did the cuff on a 9-inch circular. Then as my circumference grew, I've got the set where you can change out the cord just to make them a little bigger. So I think at the moment I'm probably, maybe I've moved up to maybe a 10. Like I could actually be a little bit bigger, but I think I've just moved up a little bit. So when I do the color work, we had talked a little bit about this on Knit Chat too. I find small circumference, it's so much easier to do the color work if you turn it inside out, because then you are stretching the yarn a little more as you go around without even really thinking about it.
Right.
And then and then when you do your stitches, like you just make sure when you're going on to the next color that you kind of spread your stitches out a bit, that you don't have them all bunched up at the end of the needle, so that you get proper length of yarn to cover that float. So this one's been really good. Like I think I've only had 1 or 2 rounds on this where I actually had to carry more than about 6 stitches. And because this is like 7 stitches, I think this tension is 28 stitches. So I will carry for about 1 inch. And plus this is very sticky yarn. So once I block this, I think most of the floats will stick to each other underneath. So there was only a couple of rows where I actually had to tack down my floats as I went along. So that was nice. All these colors, there's only ever 2 colors in a row, which is nice. And I have been sewing my ends in as I go along, simply because that would be a lot of ends to deal with at the end. And yeah, it's fun. I'm having fun doing it. I'm already planning my next one.
Do you have a picture of the finished pattern? Is it a cardigan or a sweater?
Sweater. Where is it? Right here. Okay, so it's on the cover of this book.
So gorgeous.
But the colors on that don't do it justice.
No, they're not nearly as vibrant as what you're working on.
No, so yeah, so it's really
that's like the definition of an heirloom sweater right there. That's an heirloom sweater.
But originally when I got it, I thought, I really, really want the sweater. And now that I'm knitting it, I don't want it to be done, because I really like knitting it. So I'm already thinking about the next one. And I've got the body started, but I've just got all the colors in the rib done.
So beautiful.
So there's 14 colors in the sweater, but they're all, they kind of blend, like they're, there's like 2 or 3 shades of pink and a couple of shades of like a tealy blue and a couple of shades of kind of like browns to roses to a pale oak to a silvery birch. Like they're just amazing colors. But well, I mean, I don't know that I could ever go through and put colors together like that.
No, that's what I was just going to say. It's perfect
Yeah.
that they design a kit for that,
Yeah.
because seriously, how could you, right?
That was a kit I bought that kit from the Woolly Thistle, ordered it from the Woolly Thistle, but I do believe you can buy it too directly from Marie Wallin in the UK. Mm-hmm. But there's not that many places in Canada where you can get like the kits put together. I found a place out in BC that actually carries the British Breeds yarn, and the yarn is gorgeous. The yarn is a blend of Wensleydale, Exmoor Horn, Blueface Leicester, and Swartbulls. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. So all kind of British breeds, mm-hmm. but it just is, it's a 2-ply yarn, woolen spun, perfect for color work because you get that kind of meshing it. Well, it's like the colors just sort of blend. Like it's not crisp, defined color work that you would get if you were using like a superwash or a worsted weight yarn or a worsted spun yarn. You'd get a more crisp definition. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. So.
Well, you have a ways to go, but it's absolutely beautiful.
Hopefully I'm still enjoying it by the time I get to the end.
Oh, I think you will be.
So.
Yeah. I'm still working. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I showed this maybe on the last podcast, but I'm still working on it. But it came up in the knit chat yesterday, so I thought I would revisit it. I've kind of relegated this to the car. It's my Shirley Bryan deconstructed fade socks, but I bring it back out today because somebody was questioning me about the heel choice and asked if I would talk about it on today's podcast. So with the deconstructed fade, you get two 50-gram balls, and they're dyed together, perfectly dyed. So if you start at the same, either the inside or the outside, and I started with the outside of the skein, then you would have two perfectly matched socks. So this is what I have left to knit. So I'm just a little ways past the actual halfway point on this sock. So typically I would knit, what were we talking about? What did I calculate? About 35 grams in a sock, right? Because I said it would be between 60 and 70 grams that I would use for a pair of like 7-inch socks. So I'm at just past 25 now, and I'm already up. It's at about 5 inches. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be really long socks. So I'm going to start, I'll add a few stitches in at the back to allow for some calf shaping, but I would probably not wear them as a tall sock. Well, maybe in boots, like they would be really nice to wear in a tall shaft boot to have a tall sock, but they're probably more going to be like a slouchy sock to go with leggings or jeans. But what I wanted to talk about, so I did this as a toe up, and it is a heel flap, and it's not a heel flap. It's a heel and gusset. It's not a heel flap. So the construction of it, this is what we wanted to talk about. It came up in knit chat. So as you're knitting from the toe up, then you start increasing for the gusset, right? So then I end up with more stitches on the needle. You did a short row heel turn. And then instead of knitting an actual heel flap, as you're knitting the heel flap, you're picking up those gusset rows so that the heel flap it's really a decrease, right? The heel flap as you're knitting it becomes a decrease, so that by the time you get up to the top of that, like that, now you're back down to my 60 stitches that I started with. Okay. And where I found that, it was actually from a sock pattern that I have made before, called Melisandre by Pearlescent. Was it just Pearlescent? Maybe. It's a pattern that is on Ravelry. We will link it in the notes, and it's a free pattern. So it's how I'm comfortable talking about her construction techniques, but it works really well. So the reason it works really well for a sock like that is that I didn't want the fade to be very interrupted on the sock as you would a heel flap, because you'd be knitting your heel flap separately. And then by the time you rejoined, you would end up with a strong disconnect between the fade, like somewhere it would be interrupted. And I wanted it to flow seamlessly, but I still wanted the construction fit of a structured heel. So I think this one worked really well. There's a little bit that you can see here where it sort of created a bit of pooling, but it's minimal. And I think I don't know that I would call that pooling. I really think that's just where that part of the fade was headed anyway.
Yeah.
So I really like the way it blended, and it's a really good fitting sock. And then on the front of it, I just put a simple, like a shell stitch braid in between there, just so that I've got some definition. I did a purl row at the beginning. So I'm excited for these. So these have been sort of, they're not in timeout, but they got moved into the car for a while. So just if I found myself in the car that I had some knitting time, I think that's where I started them. And I did a rounded toe up construction too. But this is the softest yarn. Mm-hmm. I love this yarn, and it was a gift from you.
Like her fades just flow so nicely.
They do. They really do. And this one is called, I don't know if I'm saying it the right way. There's 3 colorways, and it's no dice, no way, not today, or some variation. I know it's those 3 terminologies. I'm just not sure which way they go. And I don't think I have the ball band is on the counter. But anyway, they're really pretty. So we wanted to talk about that because somebody yesterday in Knit Chat asked if I would talk about that. But there are some notes on the pattern page in Ravelry, or if there's other questions that you have, you can just send me a message and I'll help you out the best I can.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that method.
I really like it. And it when you're doing it, just I don't know, it's like magic, just the way it happens all of a sudden, and you do the heel turn and then you just start creating things. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is really neat. This is it's making a heel as it goes.
A heel flap and gusset, but I don't like the picking up stitches part.
That's right. And you don't have to with this. So this is why I really like it.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So
something else?
I do. Let me just put this on. I have a hoe. Whoops.
Did I get our hose?
Just dropped. Okay. So I did a test knit, or I'm doing, because I don't have them both finished yet, but I'm doing a test knit for Natalie, who is Remembrance's Pottery. And this is her latest pattern.
That's so fun.
It's called champignon. So it's mushrooms. So you've got mushrooms all over the sock. And then and again, I should turn this around so you can see it. It's hard to show the sole or the heel on but there you can get an idea there. So the heel of the sock the foot sole of the sock has like another little pattern on it. So I think that's really
fun. Yeah. I love it when the sock has a little surprise on the bottom.
Underneath. Yep. So this pattern is coming out. She said I could show it. I did ask her. This pattern is coming out first week in May. I did mine in the Leo and Roxy basics. So the colors are classic gray and the darker color is the pebble. And then the gold is more mustard. And you could take that classic gray and the pebble and you could put any of the colors for a pop and it would look good. Like the Cajun spice or the raspberry or the Pacific blue, or I don't know, but I just thought the gold just kind of gave it a nice little, I don't know. I just liked it. So fun pattern to work. I did this on 9-inch circular for all the color work. The heel, the toe, and cuff I did on 2 16-inch circulars. So I know I could do the cuff on the 9-inch, but I'm still faster doing it by a 2x2 rib on the 2 circulars than doing it on the 9-inch circular. And then of course for the heel and the toe, you're decreasing. So it gets to the point where your 9-inch would be too small. So I do have the second one already started, but all I've got done is just a little bit of the cuff. And it's in my little tangled stitch bag. That's all I've got done so far.
Those colors look great together.
I don't think there's 3 of those colors that you could put together that wouldn't look good.
I know. They were so perfectly curated. I mean, they chose 12 colors, but those 12 colors they play so nicely together, don't they? They really do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yep, very pleased with them and it was fun to knit. So
Natalie's mug today.
I'm very nice.
Yep.
Okay, so what else are you working on?
Well, I'm still working on my Celtic knot sweater by Helene's Knit House. Of course, it's going to be summer by the time I'm done this thing, and then I won't be able to wear it, but I don't care. I've been working on it only on our Knit Chat time. So that's the body has just been done on Knit Chat over the last 2 weeks. And I've got about 3 more inches to do on the body.
Looks good. I love that color.
I do too. I really do. And then I tried it on the other day, so it's like a good fit, and I'm excited about that too. I love I just love. So it's by, I don't know, did I say it's by Helene's Knit House? So this is another one of those patterns. I don't know how many there are now, but when I started this, there were only 4 other projects. And I don't know why. It's such a nice sweater. Like, look at that construction.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how she uses a reverse stockinette here for the sleeve, and that is going to continue all the way down. So that gorgeous braid is going all the way down to the cuff. And I just love this.
Yeah, nice.
It's called, what's the word again? Is contiguous or contiguous? You tell me this every time.
Do I? I thought it was contiguous.
Okay, so that's what it's called, the contiguous construction.
Correct us if we're wrong, because I'm not sure. That's just
if there's a different pronunciation, let us know. We don't want to make a knitting faux pas. But anyway, I really like. I like this little bit of shaping in it. I think it's really nice, really clever, and the pattern's really well written.
There's more patterns that are coming out with that, and it's nice to have that instead of just like either a round yoke or the traditional like raglan.
Yeah, this is just
more shape.
Yeah.
Is
it similar? Like, I've also heard the term, is it called saddleback? Saddle shoulder?
But I thought a lot of saddle shoulder ones, you actually had to knit the saddle shoulder and then you picked up. Whereas this one, you're doing it all in one piece.
It's all shaping. Yeah. Really clever. Anyway, I'm smitten with the pattern for sure. And I can't believe only 4 other people had made it. And I'm using the same yarn actually that the designer used as well. So it's the Drops Alaska.
Okay.
And so it's a really affordable sweater, that's for sure. And I'm just looking forward to having it's heavier. So, I mean, I'll always wear a shirt underneath it anyway, but it's nice, really nice.
Okay. My next, which I wanted to get done, but I didn't because I started the Marie Wallin sweater. But I did get farther. It's all cast off down at the bottom. So I've only got the sleeves left to do. So this is the Aldous by Isabel Kramer. And again, it's got that same sleeve, Kelly. It's got the, like where you've kind of got you can't see it as much in this yarn when because you've got like about 2 or 3 inches that go across the shoulder and then it comes down.
Okay. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So it's very similar. This one, the split hem is a little bit different. Of course, I can never find this camera here, right? Because it overlaps a bit. So it was kind of cool. It's got the braid all around it before you do the split hem. This is done in Full Moon Fibers Eclipse Base held with 1 strand of the Zambezi Mohair Silk by Fleece Artist. So again, just the sleeves, but I mean, not in a big hurry now because I want to get it done, but I'm not going to be able to wear it. It's going to be too warm until next year. So, but enjoyed knitting it. And like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that I cast on the other one, I probably could have got it done, but the other one was more interesting. So
I really like that colorway.
Well, there's that's the yarn. So it's really nice yarn and it feels amazing. And they did just have an update and they did have some more of this yarn in the update. This yarn also comes in just the natural and black, which is a really nice looking yarn too. I wanted to buy more, but I thought, no, I have to wait. I have to finish some things. And I didn't shop.
Who is this new Noelle with all of this knitting?
Want to give it a month, give it a chance. And then my last work in progress. So this is the feather cardigan. I'll turn around and see the back of it so you can see the pattern better. So this is a pattern by Heidi May, who is the Velvet Acorn. And this pattern goes from baby sizes right up. So this is done in, the contrast yarn is hand spun, that was spun from a braid of Shirley Bryan fiber, which was a merino silk bamboo. And then the base is 2 strands of Holst Garn coat. No, not Coast. What's the other one? Super Soft.
Super Soft.
So 2 strands of Super Soft in the slow color. So it's like a deep, deep burgundy. And then the one up here has like kind of like a lighter pinky burgundy and the greens. And so basically all I've got left to do on that too is the sleeves and then the button bands.
Looks amazing.
So enjoyed knitting it. Just got to get the sleeves done. But now, see, now I'm at the boring part. So that's why it's taking a, but it'll get.
That's your hand spun too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah. So, and yeah, the Shirley Bryan yarn, I think that colorway was called Ilvermorny. Like her colors are just spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was a pleasure to spin it, and the bamboo and the silk in it just give it like kind of like a sheen.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I really like that pattern too, because I have enough of my hand spun left that I could actually go back and do one of the granddaughters the same sweater, just in a littler version, right? Because the pattern goes right down to baby sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So
beautiful. I'm just trying to think. I know that I just found her actually as a designer maybe a month or so ago, and I'm wondering if that's the one that I put into my sweater favorites or not. She had a couple of patterns that I really liked.
Yeah, she's got another one that I've got another hand spun done that she's got perfect patterns for it. So, and I do really like the fact that they go down to kid sizes too.
Yes.
So,
well, I think she has 2 little girls, doesn't she? Because she uses them a lot in her pattern photos.
Yes, she has them. Yeah, they're all modeled by, and she also does a lot of times if she's got a sweater pattern out, she does a knit version and a crochet version.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you go in, if you're a crocheter, they look very similar. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of nice too, because there's not a lot of, there's not, at least on Ravelry, you don't see nearly as many crochet designs as you do knit designs.
No, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's good. Do you have anything else?
Nothing else that I'm working on at the moment.
That's lots. That's lots.
How about acquisitions? Do you have any acquisitions?
I have a few.
Well, I have a few that were all ordered before the last podcast. I just didn't have them yet. So I didn't buy anything in the last, but these were ordered before that, but I just got them. So.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Most of mine is fiber. So, whoops. So this is 2 braids that I got of, this is a merino yak blend. It's 50-50. It feels amazing. The colors are a little bit deeper than what you see there because you really get that brown from the yak. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure how easy yak's going to be to spin. So I'm going to do a few more spins first before I delve into this. But I think like the color and the feel of the yarn is just gorgeous. Like it's like now there's this whole new world of fiber out there. That's almost even more addictive than yarn.
I really like that color.
It's just, I don't know what the color was called. This is from Silver Sage Studios. It's a Canadian dyer on Etsy. I'll make sure that I put it down below. She has wonderful luxury fibers like camel and llama and yak and silk, and really nice. Because you can't always find those when you're looking for the yarns. But, so that's the first one. This is the only yarn so this is a Shirley Bryan yarn. This is called Cup of Ambition. No, pour myself a cup of ambition. This is her deconstructed fade sock. And this was one that I had ordered when Jacqueline put an order in way back, but I just hadn't gotten it from Jacqueline yet. So
I think that's when Jacqueline ordered the Aslan.
Yes, it is.
That I wanted and got cart-jacked on.
So that's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that yellow's coming out much brighter there than what it is in real life. It's a lot more subdued.
It's kind really pretty though.
Kind of that like grello with the grays and yellow, and yeah. Anyway, so that was my only actual yarn purchase. Okay.
Okay, so I have a little bundle here of yarns to show. So we'll start with this one. This was a single skein. I just got this one the other day. It's from Ravenswood Fiber Co. And she just has
Beautiful
she
yarn.
has these little updates, right? And I'm like,
No.
I want to unfollow her on Instagram because it's just too addicting. So this one's actually coming up. I think it's pretty close. It's gray and cream, and then you see the little green speckles in there.
Mm-hmm. That's gorgeous.
How gorgeous is that? It's so this one is called "The Stones Have a Story," and this would again be pretty for like a one skein shawl. But when I bought this, I envisioned socks, and it's going to be socks that don't have a contrasting heel or toe. This will be a pair of socks that I go all the way toe up to cuff. But I love this colorway.
Very pretty. Gorgeous.
And her yarn is so soft too. That's another thing for me. Okay. What else do we have in here? I have your little goodie basket. This is where all the new yarns have been living. So this next two are from Vicky, Songbird Fibers.
Oh, okay.
And this was her. What was the virtual festival that just happened? Was it a Knit City?
It was Knit City, yes.
So I think this was her Knit City color. And I need to move the ball band a little bit so you can see. So with Vicky skeins, every skein has to do with a bird. And there's a donation that goes to her allaboutbirds.org out of every skein that she sells. And this happens to be her show color for Knit City. And it's my favorite bird that comes to my feeder. It's the rose-breasted grosbeak. And he should be arriving soon into my backyard. They usually come right around the first week of May. And they are the friendliest little birds. They will be on my feeder and you can go right up to them. And the females, of course, why are the males so much prettier?
I know.
In wildlife.
Yep.
So the male is very brightly colored. And then the female, she's an all brown bird. But, and then Vicky had these cute little stitch markers too. A little owl.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
It goes with it.
Yep.
And then I ordered a second color because I said at the beginning of the year that I was looking for more neutrals. And this one is definitely a beautiful neutral. And this one is the Piping Plover.
That's pretty.
It's just got that little bit of gold that I love. And there's a little bit of green in there too. But it's just a soft, really nice base. And I thought this would look... Well, actually, I could see like just a nice shawl for this one because it would be that shawl that would go probably with everything that you own.
Pretty.
It's very pretty. And then the last company that I dove into was a new company to me, which was Rose Hill Yarns. And I ordered, so she does these little, they're called half skeins. So the first one is 50 grams, and then you get a 20 gram mini skein. And this one is called Sunday Afternoon.
That's pretty.
And it's sort of the theme that I was going for there was our Sunday afternoon knit chats. So I bought you one too.
Hey, I know you showed me this. It's so pretty.
And yours has me. So aren't they pretty? They're so pretty.
Yep.
And then
perfect because you don't need 100 gram skein when you're doing a sock with the contrasting.
You do not. You do not. And I'm really excited to see these ones knit up because I love the color variations. Actually, see if I knit this, it would go perfect with this sweater.
Yep.
And then there's one for our prize pack too. Maybe let's use this one for our Noelle shawls.
Oh.
Look at this colorway, Tidewater.
Oh, that's
Isn't
pretty.
that beautiful? And that's showing a little brighter than it is. I have LED lights on that side of the studio. Maybe if I go over here, oh, then it's out of the screen. But it's a beautiful turquoise with gray, and it's absolutely beautiful. So, and she is from
out west.
She's out west. I want to say Calgary, but I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll have it in the show notes anyway. So
yeah, so it's Rose Hill Yarns.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful. So that is it for my fibery acquisitions. And then I also have some fabricy acquisitions that I want to show because one of my goals this year is to get back into sewing some garments as well. So I bought this. Oops, move the threads out before they go flying. I love linen for the summer, and this is a linen that I bought. I'm thinking of making coveralls. I don't know what it is. Coveralls are making a comeback, and the pair that I really like is called the Yanta coveralls. So look at this linen.
Oh, that's pretty.
It's really, really pretty. So I've got to get that washed up. So that's a nice summer weight linen. Yep. And then there was a sale. And so this is for fall sewing, but I liked it so much that I thought I'll take a chance on two colors in the same. It's actually, because one's gold. All right, they don't look so great together. There's black, which is, everybody knows what black looks like, but then the gold on its own looked better than with the black. It's coming out, it's showing up a little brighter on screen. It's more of, it's definitely not that bright. It's more tan, but it's a corduroy, but it actually has some stretch in it too. Okay. And I'm going to make, there's a pinafore dress. They were called pinafores when we were young. Now they're going back to being called pinafores again, but it's called the York pinafore. And it's just sort of, I don't know, just like a little jumper style dress. So I'm thinking it would look great with like leggings or tights in the winter and just a long sleeve t-shirt or something underneath. And I thought, given that it has this little bit of stretch in it for corduroy, it'll be really nice.
So is that the black too, is the stretch? The black is the same fabric, just
in black. Yeah. So it's a nice weight, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That'll be for this fall weather. And then I have two, well, these aren't acquisitions, I guess, but we could move right into what's going in the shop this week since we're coming to the end of the pile here. So I've got two different fabrics that are heading into the shop this week.
Oh, those are pretty.
So there's some butterflies on there and spring flowers on a turquoise base. I really like that one. And then this one I absolutely love. And unfortunately, there's not much of this one. I bought everything that the shop had, but I love it. It's definitely, again, showing brighter down here than it really is, but it's the Monstera with the gray bases. So that will be in the shop probably either Friday evening or Saturday morning. I'll post that. That's the Tangled Stitch shop on Etsy, and I will post in there when it will be updated.
Okay. Okay, I have a little bit of spinning.
Okay.
Just a couple of skeins here. So here's the...
Oh, I love it.
This one is 100% Polwarth. So this is the one I was talking about that I think I'm going to do another Heidi May design with, because I have this, this is just an Estelle yarn, but I really liked the two of them.
I love that.
Together.
There you go.
It'll really pop. Yeah. So anyways, and these, like some of these yarns, like the Estelle, like this is 100% wool, and they're like such reasonable prices, and especially if there's another yarn that you want to showcase with it. So I really like that. And then I've got one more skein that I've finished. Oh. So there's, and this is a Cheviot, and I thought it would look nice if I just put it in like a cream yarn with a cream. And this one, I got this fiber from a place out west called On a Quest for Fiber. And I'll just quickly show you. I kind of went a little nuts at that place. I got a few braids. So this first one is called Pink Petal.
Ooh, I like that.
These are all Cheviot. This is called Warm Memories. This one is called Coral Reef. Okay, this one is called Frozen Berries.
Very nice.
Last one is called 80s aerobics. It does look like Jane Fonda's outfit.
It does. Yeah, that was everything I wore in the 80s, right there in one skate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought those looked like fun colors. And it's funny because like you'll see the braid and you really don't know. At least I don't yet. I haven't spun enough to really know what it's going to look like when you spin it up, right? When you get the barber pulling and.
But I still feel that way about skeins of yarn. Like I'll look at a skein of yarn and I will get an image in my head of what I think it's going to knit like, but it very seldom does. I still can't read the
because like look at this. Like look at all the.
I love that. That's so pretty.
In it. So yeah, so that'll keep me busy for a while. So
how long does it take you to spin a braid? Do you know yet? Because I know you're like stop and start, but
I would say maybe I'm not that fast yet. Maybe like, I mean, I don't know because I don't sit down and do it all at once. Like I can spin up a braid in a week just sitting down for a few minutes at a time.
Okay.
Because I don't usually sit down for a big chunk of time at a time. So, but like while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, if I'm making a cup of coffee or something, I'll come and I'll spin for a bit. Or if I'm waiting for something at dinner, I'll come and spin for a bit. So I don't sit for hours to spin. So I don't know if I really sat down and just did it, how long it would take. But I find doing it like that, I get probably, like I said, a 100-gram or 4-ounce skein of yarn every week.
Okay.
And that's doing all my other knitting and stuff at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm. So you're now spinning, would you say that that's a sport weight that you're spinning to? Or are you spinning to, you're not spinning to a fingering yet?
Not yet. Okay. And you think, it's funny because you think you're spinning so thin. And then when I apply it, I'm like, oh, well, that's not as thin as I thought it was. So, but like the sport weight, like I'm happy with the sport weight and I just keep working on getting it thinner.
Well, I think sport weight though, like if your goal is to be doing sweaters and things with it, the sport weight is probably like that sweet spot that you want to be in anyway.
It's pretty versatile, right? Because a lot of sport weights you can put with like a fingering or you can put with a DK, right? Where it's a definite DK thicker one, you're not really going to put it with a fingering. Or if you got a fingering, you're probably not going to put it with a worsted or a DK weight. So the sport can kind of go a little bit either way, especially when you get a few thick and thin spots in it. So. Right. And it's hand spun. It doesn't have to be perfect.
That's right. That's the beauty of it.
That's
and
right.
It doesn't matter. Somebody else could buy the same braid and no two skeins will look.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the fun in it.
Yep.
Very nice. Very nice. You're doing so well with it too. For a new spinner, you're doing so well.
So, and I did have our little needles here. Just a minute. That I'm going to drop off for you to work tomorrow.
Okay. I'll bring your yarn too.
So those are our needles that Kelly contacted Suzanne at Knit Stitch to see if she had any more of them. So these are the C knits. I don't even know where they're manufactured.
I want to say Japan.
Yeah, they have Japanese on the back, but these are 9.5-inch circular for socks, and they've got one of the tips is about a 1/2 inch longer than the other, so it's supposed to give you a little bit more needle to hang on to when you're doing like a smaller circumference needle. So I'm anxious to try them. So, and they're supposed to have a swivel tip. Anyway, and Suzanne wants to know how we like them. So
we'll be sure to let her know.
Louise likes hers, I think.
So. Okay. Well, I have worked my way through what I have.
It take me like an hour to put stuff away here. Or
it's
more.
Easier for me now that now that I podcast. There's no we podcasting down here together, but we used to podcast upstairs in my living room, and now I've moved down into my sewing space, and so it's artificial light, definitely, because I'm using lights down here. But for me, it's easier because I don't have to run up and downstairs and carry any equipment or projects. Everything is kind of already down here living.
And if you don't want to put everything away, you can just close the door.
I know, right?
Whereas mine's in my family room, I'll be tripping over stuff if I don't put things away.
I've waited my entire adult life to have this room, Noelle. I'm telling you, I appreciate it each and every day. We didn't have the space, in our other house when the kids were younger, and I had to like sew in a corner kind of created a little area, and I had, yarn and things stashed all over the house. So when we moved in here, it's just Mike and I in our house. And I said, like, I'm claiming a room. And so we fixed up the basement. And so I have a big room. I guess I could have taken a smaller room, but upstairs, so I would have had some natural light, but I'm okay being a basement dweller down here. It's brightly lit. And I have my TV so I can watch podcasts. So I have friends down here. I have my yarn to look at, and it's all good. All good.
Well, it says every room in our house is a craft room.
Well, oh yeah. It's not that I only, crafts get carried upstairs too. And I definitely knit upstairs most of the time, but the odd time, sometimes they'll come down here. If I just had a corner down here to like fit an appropriate chair, I'd probably hang out down here and knit too. Cause like I said, I have the TV on so I can watch my podcasts and see what everybody else is knitting. And so anyway, that's that. So we're in our wrapping up where you can find us. I'm on Ravelry and Instagram as The Tangled Stitch, and you are...
I am nsknitsandpieces on Ravelry and Noelle's Knits and Pieces on Instagram. And all the information will be down below. We do have a website. If you click on the information below the video, it'll take you directly to the website. In the website, I will make sure that there's links to all of our projects, any of the makers that we discussed. We'll put in that pattern that you talked about, the socks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and if there's something there that's missing and you want that information, just let us know and we'll get the information to you. If you have trouble with Ravelry, let us know and we can give you any information that you need about any particular project or any question that you might have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want nobody to be excluded in this, and we appreciate the time that you take to watch this podcast. So to find the information below, there's a V that you can click on, and that will show you everything below. There's also a bell if you want to be notified of future episodes. So this is our formal podcast that we do every 3 weeks. And then we'll have our weekly knit chats as well. And if you click on the bell, you'll be notified of when we're going live. This week for Knit Chat, we had some people in there ahead of us. It was cool. So exciting to see that. And people in there are starting to chat with one another. So I'm hoping that you're making friends outside of our regular get together every week. And we have also on Instagram our hashtag, which is hashtag KNP 2021 Knit Chat. And we would love to see you share your projects in there. So that's another opportunity for you outside of Ravelry to be in touch with us. And we're loving seeing the projects in there as well. Mm-hmm. It's fun, that we can see, like, you get to see what we're working on, but we really like to see what you're working on. Yeah. And we're just having a good time.
So that our queues can just get longer and longer and longer.
When do we ever catch up with the knitting? Nobody ever catches up with the knitting. No. We see something else that we like. And anyway.
It's funny because I was talking to Jacqueline for a few minutes yesterday, and she said she's always the one, well, her and Rachel are always the ones telling me, oh, you should check this site, you should check out this, you should check this. And then Jacqueline goes, I sort of understand now how your stash got that big.
Well, we have a few years on them too, Noelle.
Yes, I know, but I think she couldn't understand before how I could have that much yarn. But now that she's so into it, she said, because it's before you start the one thing that you're so excited about, something new comes along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I've been definitely trying in the last couple of years to be more intentional with my purchases and trying not to be so squirrely with all the things that just grab my attention. I've actually tried to be more meaningful with putting patterns aside that I want to knit. And then when I'm shopping for yarn, I like to have something in mind that yarn will be for. I mean, there's absolutely still one-off skeins that I can't, that I feel like I can't live without. But
I know it's that Dyer said, if I put these colors on this yarn, Noelle will buy it.
Right? And we're knitters and we buy things. We knit things, but we also like to buy things. And that is just that's how it rolls. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, we would like to thank everybody that's watches us, spends time with us. I hope you're enjoying it. We're certainly enjoying doing it. where Kelly and I are looking forward to we can actually be together to do the knit chats and the podcasts, but hopefully that time will come soon. So in the meantime, happy making.
Happy making. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, bye.